Hey guys, glad to meet you all again in the next video of Python tutorial series. In this video, we will be discussing about inheritance and how to implement the same in Python language. So let's get started.
Inheritance is an interesting concept in object-oriented programming language. The child will get the properties of the parent, so that is nothing but some properties of the parent will be inherited to the child. So it is called as inheritance. There are various levels in inheritance. This is a simple inheritance. It is also called as a single inheritance. It is just like a child is getting the properties of a parent, so it is very straightforward. And in multi-level inheritance, let's say there is a grandparent, and the grandparent's properties are acquired by the parent, and the parent's properties are acquired by the child. So this is called multi-level inheritance. And there is another inheritance called multiple inheritance, where the child will acquire properties of multiple persons, for example the father and the mother. So this is called multiple inheritance. And what is the difference between multiple and multi-level inheritance is, in multi-level inheritance, the parent has acquired the properties of grandparent, but in multiple inheritance there is no property sharing between father and mother. And also in inheritance, only the child will inherit the properties of the parent, and the parent cannot acquire the properties of the child. I hope you have understood the concept of inheritance. Now let's try to implement the inheritance concept using Python. I'm going to create a class called parent. I'm having an init function. And I'm having one property of parent function. Now I'm going to create another class which is the child. Now we have created a parent and child classes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to inherit the parent properties into child. So I'm going to give parent in the bracket just like this. So what will happen? The child will acquire the properties of parent. This is nothing but inheritance. Now I'm going to create an object for parent class. Object of parent, and before this I need to code the self parameter. Yeah, now the parent is initialized. So I'm going to create another object for child. So child initialized. So we have successfully created two objects, one for parent and another for child. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the parent's properties using the child object. Child dot property parent. I can do that because it has basically inherited all the properties of parent into child. I'm going to try the vice versa. From the parent object I'm going to try accessing the property of a child, but yeah, it will throw us an error because parent cannot acquire the properties of a child. So that's how it works. So this is a simple single inheritance. So for the multi-level inheritance, we are going to create a new class which is grandparent. Let me just copy paste. Now we have three classes: parent, grandparent, and a child. I'm going to inherit the properties of grandparent into a parent. I'm going to give grandparent in the bracket of a parent class. Now I'm going to create a new object for child. So we have successfully created an object. Now I'm going to try to access the grandparents property using the child's object. So this is a property of grandparent is executed. So what it shows us is, in the child I have simply inherited the parent class, but in the parent class I have inherited the grandparent class. So what happens is, the grandparents property is acquired by parent and the both of them got acquired by the child. So I could access the properties of both of them, parent and the grandparent, in the child object. Now let's implement the multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance is nothing but a child will inherit the properties of two or more classes. So let us remove the grandparent inheritance from the parent class. For multiple inheritance, all you need to do is you need to give both the classes which you want to inherit to into a child class, like giving by separating the both classes with comma, just like this. Now I'm going to create a new object for child, object child of 2, child initialized. So let me try to access the properties of a parent. I can access that using the child object. Now I'm going to try to access the properties of the grandparent. I can access that as well. So this is called multiple inheritance. What if I need to access the parent's property inside the child class? Like this, I need to call the parent function inside the child class. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use the super method. This is the special method which will help us to access the superclass inside the subclass. Here the superclass is parent and subclass is child. So I have called the property parent inside the child class. Now I'm going to create a new object for child class 3. So I'm going to call the property of the child now dot t child. As you can see, when I call the property child method, it has in turn called the property of a parent, which is nothing but this function. So it has executed the print statement this is a property of a parent, which we can see in the output, and again it has printed this is a property of a child. So this is how the super function works. So basically, if you want to use the class of a parent inside a child, you can use that super method. The similar thing you can do for accessing the grandparent properties also, like this, and I can again execute this. So as you can see in the output, the grandparent got printed, and now there is a question comes into our mind, like what if both the classes have the same function? For example, init function is present in both the classes, and so if I'm trying to access the init function of the superior class, what will happen? So there is something called MRO. MRO is nothing but method resolution order. So that order is nothing but it is left to right. In our case, parent is the first inherited, and grandparent is the second inherited class. So when I try to access a method which is common to both parent and grandparent, it will search in the parent class. If it is found, it will return that method, but if it's not found, it will go to grandparent. So this is the order it follows, and it is called the method resolution order in Python. So let's try to verify it. I'm going to create another object, obj child of 4. So let's try to call the function. Now as you can see, the parent initialized is printed, and then this is a property of a child is printed. So basically what happens in the background is when I call the property child method of child class, the control comes here, and here we have super dot init function. So we have two superior functions. From them, the parent is the first one. So as per MRO, it is searching the parent class for init function. So the parent initialized got printed, and then it comes down and prints this is a property of a child. This is what happens in the background, and this is called the MRO concept of Python.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. In the next video, we'll be discussing about abstraction and encapsulation concepts present in Python. So until then, see you. Have a great day.